tell, then you see the road. I'm out to my soul into the size. Whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect. Do it.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 10th part of What If BEN10 Meets the Boys? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of fan62 on fanfictionnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. BEN10 broadcast. Cameron Coleman is on screen and takes a breath. Shock. He simply says. That's the only word that I can think of that describes how I and the rest of America are feeling right now, at this very moment. Shock. He adds. Because unless you've been blind and deaf for the last few hours, you all must be aware of the attack by Shifter. He continues as footage of Upgrade crashing Vought's announcement of Translucent's death disappearance. And no less than when Homelander, the great leader of the Seven, was delivering tragic news about everyone's favorite invisible hero Translucent. He then scoffs. He didn't even give us time to mourn, before he started attacking the heroes of this nation. Then turned the announcement of this tragic news into some childlike circus. He rants, disgusted by this. Speaking of children, the even bigger news is that Shifter's identity has been revealed. Shows footage of Upgrade transforming back into Ben. A child. A child has been the one attacking the Seven and their super brothers and sisters. Perhaps nobody is more shocked than Homelander and his team. Scoffs as he continues his rant. And now biased government institutions are blatantly accusing Homelander, his team and anyone they can think of that they knowingly harmed a child. I mean sure, there's no doubt that Shifter, real name still unknown, has had altercations with other heroes. But it's important to remember he attacked them, in nearly every instance. Not to mention he gave no indication he was under the age of 18. Not one scrap of evidence that the Seven or anyone in Vought knew that their attacker was so young. He elaborates, then takes a breath. Totally unjustifiable. A still image of one of Shifter's aliens, 4 arms, appears only now with bars and photoshopped in front. I mean come on, does that look like a child to you? He scoffs momentarily before continuing. What's more is that while he is being held in custody by Vought, he's being viewed as a hostage now. And authorities of the NYPD, Social Services, Child Protection Services, along with the CIA, FBI, NSA are demanding he be released into their custodies. When none of them have the proper facilities to hold a dangerous criminal such as him. Just look at the property damage he caused during his attack. A slideshow of images begins playing, showing all kinds of destruction that happened during the fight. That's billions of dollars in damages that have to be paid by you the taxpayer. Only silver lining is that his reckless endangerment miraculously did not result in any deaths, thanks in large part to our valiant Vought heroes. Now just to show that we value all opinions, I have Congresswoman Victoria Newman here to tell us her thoughts. The Vought newscaster then says, shortly a video chat with said congressman appears next to him. So Congresswoman Newman, tell us, why do you want Shifter to just suddenly go free despite what he has done? Cameron blatantly asks. It takes a second for the politician to be relayed what she was just asked, but when she receives it her response is immediate. Well, that's a narrow-minded view of what I, and many others want. We want Mr. Tennyson, that is his name, to be released to the proper authorities as those authorities investigate what happened to him. She tells him. So you think Vought is incapable of doing this? Cameron redirects. That isn't what I said. Victoria tells him. And while Vought is allowed autonomy to stop all kinds of threats, they have to turn the people responsible for these threats over to the authorities. It's part of Vought's own policy, I don't know why it's a problem now. She counters. Then before Cameron could ask another question, Victoria continues. Also the CIA is currently holding Chimera, or Kevin as he was called, somewhere and he hasn't escaped. Nor did Vought demand he be taken into their custody, so it's clear they have a way to hold that kind of threat. Yes. The news reporter acknowledges. But without telling us? I mean, they're keeping his location hidden. Doesn't the public deserve a little transparency? You got me there. The Congresswoman agrees. But isn't Vought keeping Mr. Tennyson's condition a secret? No, they're not. Cameron denies. We don't know his health, we don't know where he's being held, if he's being treated according to protocols, or even what those protocols are. Miss Newman lists off on her fingers. Is he even in contact with a lawyer? Or alive for that matter? Cut her mic. Cameron tells one of the workers and Victoria Newman's voice is cut off and her image disappears from screen. You see, no trust. BBC broadcast. A female anchor is sitting at her desk and begins talking in a calm tone. The world is still in shock as the hero, Shifter, who in the course of several weeks has made a name for himself by attacking Vought both politically and literally, turns out to be a boy, less than 13 years old. Authorities ranging from national security to child services are scrambling to figure out who he is and how he came upon such powers. An image of Vought Tower appears on the screen. Vought is holding him inside 7 Tower for the time being. And many are divided as people applaud Vaught's methods while people believe their tactics to be draconian for a boy his age. Podcast. So you actually met Shifter? The host asks the guest, who was the girl Ben saved from Harrygasm when Teenage Kicks hosted. I did, he saved me from Ice Prince. Continues to tell her story. YouTube short. A group of fairly attractive women appeared to be fawning as the screen shifted to a picture of Diamondhead walking out of a burning pet store with bunnies in his arms. Then the screen shows a picture of Ben for a few seconds, then goes back to them. The women are now pretending to vomit in barf bags. TikTok. A TikToker was showing comparisons of Ben's fights and lines to that of multiple Transformers movies and series. This made them immensely popular with millions of views. Instagram. An influencer with their Starbucks coffee was being reposted on someone else's account. But the post wasn't about them. On the next page of the post, one of the people waiting in line was circled. It was Ben and the post was captioned, "Hiding in plain sight." Twitter. A tweet by a user with the text "Set Shifter free, he saved my sister's life." It was then followed up by a video of a roller coaster that was stuck upside down. What was really the focus was that a teenage girl was hanging on for her life on the handrail. As a firefighter was trying to reach out and get her, the girl's grip slipped. She would have fallen to her death, had it not been for Wildmutt, who jumped in and grabbed her. Then brought her down, before taking off. Facebook. A Facebook post with Shifter's logo, the Omnitrix insignia, was up with a black line running down the middle. The left side had the word "criminal", the right side had the word "hero", with the word "or" in smaller text in the middle. Lastly, it was captioned, "Which one?" Court. Lily Choi was in court advocating for the release of Ben from Vaught's custody. Her opposing counsel was a legal representative from Vought, a middle-aged corporate career lawyer named Samuel Daniels. The Honorable Judge Hector Ochoa was presiding. "Your Honor, this is a waste of time. Vought has a legal agreement with the city and the authorities that should Vought deem someone a danger to the public, Vought can hold them for up to a week while deciding whose custody to release them to." Daniels argues. "So you deem a child a threat to the people?" Lily asks incredulously, and slightly amused. In case the Ms. Choi has been under a rock, the whole world saw that Shifter the Vought lawyer tried to speak. "Objection, Your Honor, since the defendant's identity has been revealed to the whole world, he must be referred by the name he was given by his parents and not the public." Choi argues. "And what name would that be?" The judge asks skeptically. "After all, none of us know it, and he has never stated what his name was. His full name is Benjamin Kirby Tennyson." Lily tells him. "Though if possible, could we avoid using the middle name from here on out? I'm sure Honor would understand." "Very well." The judge relents. The court must now address the defendant by his actual name, any and all other aliases must be clarified before using them. He orders. You may resume your argument, Mr. Daniels. The whole world saw that Mr. Tennyson, Daniels drags out while giving Choi a dirty look. Attacked the Seven, endangered the public, caused a large amount of property damage and did this without any just cause, it was totally unprovoked. Bullshit. Choi calls out. Excuse me. The Vought lawyer says. Watch your language in my court, Ms. Choi, or I'll hold you in contempt. The judge warns. Your Honor, I submit as evidence from social media and street camera footage of when Ben, as the alien he calls Four Arms, first met Homelander. Lily tells him as she turns on the courtroom television, displaying Four Arms and Homelander meeting for the first time. Eventually the footage shows Homelander striking at Four Arms and the fight ensues. The video is then paused as Lily resumes speaking. As you can see, Homelander clearly assaulted my client upon their first meeting. If he attacked Homelander, he had good reason to, except we can't know that because we, including me his lawyer, haven't been able to get in contact with him. She states. Homelander was trying to carry out an arrest, and Shifter Daniels tried to argue. Objection. Lily called out. And Benjamin refused. The Vought lawyer continued. What were the charges? The judge asks. Because it looks like Homelander is just upset his glory got stolen. If anything, this evidence shows Mr. Tennyson can sue for assault. He adds. Except that may have been his first meeting with Homelander, but not with Vought. Daniels then reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a statement. Here you'll find a full transcript of Homelander's announcement that Queen Maeve, A-Train and Black Noir were attacked by, and I quote, a giant F-word orange dog thing with no eyes, ear, or F-word mouth. Ms. Choi, is this true? The judge asks. It is true, a fight broke out. Lily admits. But as stated on Ben's Instagram profile, he states that he was in the form Wildmutt, which is unable to verbally communicate. And according to my client, he only responded after he was attacked. So if anything, it was self-defense. She argues. That's hearsay. Daniels challenges. So is your argument. Lily tells him, then turns back to the judge. Your Honor, neither side is able to properly establish what exactly happened since his clients are pleading the fifth and mine isn't even allowed to testify because he was wrongfully kidnapped by this but's boss. Watch it, Ms. Choi, you were warned. The judge reminds her. But you're right. Without concrete evidence, I'm ruling that the first meeting involving the form called Wildmutt must not be submitted at all into evidence. So my client can be released? Lily asks with hope. No. The judge tells her. Unfortunately, there's still the matter that he can be a danger to the public and is most definitely a flight risk. Also, may I submit this, Your Honor? Daniels requested, reaching into his briefcase for a piece of paper and handing it to the judge. A portion of the official agreement Vought has with the city. You'll see there they have up to a week before Mr. Tennyson can be released, to determine if he's even allowed to be in the country since there's no record of a Benjamin Tennyson. He argues. He's stated repeatedly that he was born in another dimension. Lily vainly argues. And unless he can prove that he needs to be properly investigated by Vought, as the law and the city allows it, to determine whether it's true or not. Among other things. If he's a terrorist the Vought lawyer continues. You think a 10-year-old boy who's been saving the lives of literally hundreds, maybe thousands, is a terrorist? Ha! Lily laughs. Be that as it may, Vought is allowed to hold him for the allotted time. Judge Ochoa says, slightly saddened by that fact. Except, Lily says, just as the judge is about to bang his gavel. That's only for adult criminals for crimes that involve in the direct deaths or injuries of civilians. Which he conveniently left out. She states. And last I checked, Ben is under the age of 13, with no parents, no available relatives, and again no contact with his lawyer, me. He adds. Mr. Daniels, is this true? The judge asks, though he likely already knows the answers. Technically yes. The VOT lawyer says, deflated. But dash dot. He tries to argue. Save it. Judge Ochoa tells him. 48 hours. That's how long until Mr. Tennyson is to be released in good health and with no injuries. Should he be held for a microsecond more, I'm dismissing all charges VOT currently has against him. Your Honor, Ben should be released into proper custody immediately. Lily tells him. Though this is considered a win, she knows Ben is in danger every second he's in VOT. Unfortunately, no matter how you slice it, legally VOT has a right to hold all criminals they get involved in for a certain time. Especially in such events as Mr. Daniels described earlier. The judge reminds her, having had personal experience. Your Honor, this whole thing is ridiculous. Per Wrench versus the NYPD Daniels still tries to argue. Your 48 hours have been reduced to 36. The judge tells him, extremely annoyed. And what's ridiculous, you trying to pull one over on me? I'm reporting you to the bar for trying to hide evidence. Slams his gavel. The 36 hours start from the time Benjamin Kirby Tennyson was taken into VOT custody. This court is adjourned. Rises up and takes his leave. VOT Tower. Ben wakes up to a room reminiscent of a jail cell. He's on a small mattress that was on the floor, that wasn't too uncomfortable. Sitting up, there was a wall to his right and to his left, metal bars holding him. Across from him was a decent-sized TV on the wall. He looked down at his left wrist where the omnitrix resided, but saw it was covered by a metal brace. After a few vain attempts to pull it off, he gave up and sighed. Shrugging his shoulders, he went up to find the remote for the TV, but couldn't. Deciding to go old school, he found the power button on the back and turned it on. What appeared was the VOT logo, so he immediately turned it off. He then hears a door open and Ben turns to see Homelander, wearing a new clean suit, and any marks on his face have been covered by cosmetics and makeup. The 7 leader walks into the room and looks at the restrained Ben. What are you looking at? The captured hero questions. A kid. Homelander says. AF 10-year-old kid. Gotta say, this does explain a lot. He begins pacing around with a smile as he walks back and forth along the bars. The way you talked. Felt like something out of a cartoon. Looks like it might have been. He pauses. I tell ya, I was ready to finish you off back there, and then boom. He faces him, as he mimics explosions with his hands. The techno-bubble thing that went all Michael Bay on us turns into a little kid. I'm not surprised often, but that. He chuckles, he wags his finger a little. Never coulda seen that coming. Ben smirks as he replies. I'll bet. How's it feel knowing a 10-year-old kid has been kicking your ass? I'll let you have that one. Homelander says as he steps towards Ben, with the bars separating them. Bars he could easily break. He looked at the restraint which wrapped around Ben's omnitrix. All because of that. Where'd you get it? He asks. A cereal box. Ben quickly replies. Homelander then uses his X-ray vision. He quickly sees past the metal brace and tries to see inside the omnitrix. But as he tries to look past it, he finds that he can't. He can see every one of Ben's bones, organs and veins if he wanted in any other part of his body, but he couldn't see the watch. How long have I been in here? Ben asks, but doesn't get an answer as Homelander is still trying to look past the black mass on Ben's wrist. Hello. Ben calls out, snapping his fingers a bit. Eventually Homelander gives up and asks. Who are you working for? I mean, unless you're some secret genius, which you're not, you clearly aren't working alone. Sorry, my catchphrase is, hero time, not team time, or hero's time. Ben denies, knowing not to give them any information they might not have. You think you're so smart. Homelander says. But I heard you. He reminds him. You said, we win, who's we? Homelander questions. Plead the fifth. Ben says. What did they take? The 7-leader asks. Who is they, anyway? Ben plays dumb then asks. What are you so worried about them taking anyway? Got something to hide? Like your weakness maybe? He says with a smirk, knowing what they were looking for, despite not knowing if they got it. I don't have any. Homelander denies. I'm perfect. Nothing can take me down. He adds with satisfaction. Didn't they say that about the Titanic? Ben reminds him. I mean, I was never the best at school, but I definitely remember that. Then one iceberg and bam. Claps his hands to emphasize his point. Now it's just a hunk of junk bottom of the ocean. That was a boat. Homelander says with gritted teeth. Well, what about the, Ben tries to reply, but loses his train of thought. Those bunker things in the beginning Saving Private Ryan. Weren't those supposed to keep our army out of, the place in France? He questions. We had a better army. Homelander argues. Twin Towers. Ben asks, remembering his mom taking him away from the TV years ago. I mean, a bunch of dudes got past the whole security or whatever and crashed 4 planes, I think. Scratches his head. I get why mine fell, but weren't you here? Points to Homelander. You failed, like big time. Homelander then glared at Ben with disgust. While the captured hero smirked. Now the world saw you get your ass handed to you by me. And the only reason you won was because of luck, not actual skill, which you don't have. Homelander grits his teeth. And when I get out, I'm gonna find a way to stop you forever. Then you'll just be a has-been, like that guy from, Ben continues, but pretends struggles to remember the person's name. Who cares, you'll tell me when you join him. Ben finishes while crossing his arms and waiting for Homelander's strike. But just as Homelander's eyes glow red and he's about to fire his heat vision, the door opens. Homelander, stop. The person calls out. It's what he wants. Homelander seems to realize this and takes a breath to calm down. He then turns around, as Ben looks over to see the blonde lady he met when Black Noir tried to attack Lily Choi. Stillwell. Ben thinks her name is. I didn't touch him. Homelander says as he turns to Madeline. Better not have. The senior VP says sternly. The judge said we have 36 hours to hand him over. She informs him. What? Homelander a little surprised. No way. He attacked us. He reminds hers. Actually, you guys attacked me first. Ben corrects them. Remember your first little meet and beat down with me? He's also a kid, totally different ball game than some junkie. Stillwell tells him as she walks over. Edgar wants to talk to all of us in the conference room. Now. She adds. As Homelander turns away from Ben annoyed and is about to walk out, he remembers something someone else said. Connect with the Connect, find shared ground. Homelander turned back to Ben with his normal smile. Tell me. What is it about me you have a problem with? Ben's reply is almost immediate. Where do I begin? You're a liar, you think you're better than everyone else and deserve praise. Let's focus on those last 2. Homelander spoke up as he took a step forward. I am stronger than everyone else. Even among the strongest heroes on the planet. I'm on a whole other level. Until I showed up. Ben reminds him. Homelander ignores that remark and asks. But tell me something, have you ever felt that way? Huh? Ben replies, a little surprised by that. Homelander still smiles as he says. Just an honest question. Have you ever thought that because of what you can do, that you mattered more and deserved more? Ben wanted to make a clever taunt. He wanted to make a joke. But all he could do was think back to the times he believed he was better than everyone else, or that all he did made him deserving of things he wanted. Even though Ben didn't speak, Homelander got his answer. Well, what do you know? Common ground. He says then he goes to join Stillwell for their meeting, leaving Ben in his cell with just his thoughts. Conference room. The other 5 members of the 7 were in the conference room, with 4 sitting down while 1 nervously paced around. We're F. We're F. We are so FF. A-Train said as he paced back and forth in the 7 meeting room. Mave then groans as tells him. Will you cut that SHT out? You're giving me AF headache. A-Train stops to reply. Oh, I'm sorry. Is me freaking out over our whole F careers getting blown to SHT bothering you? Relax man, Homelander will get us out of this. Deep tries to reassure. You mean us, not you. A-Train tells him. You're in the clear cause you didn't do SHT except get your ass kicked. He adds, reminding the water-themed soup of his more than lackluster performance during the fight. Can we focus on the fact we could have killed a kid? Starlight requests, not believing they would be more concerned about their positions at Vought rather than Ben's health. I mean Homelander, or any of us, could have killed him. She adds with concern. Like we could have done that. Mave comments with a bored expression. What's that supposed to mean? A-Train asks, offended by that comment. It means our asses got handed to us. Queen Mave tells him. Again by the same kid who was that dog thing, who was that speed lizard guy, and like 5 minutes ago when everyone, but Homelander was knocked out. She then gets up and gets in his face. And he still wanted to fight even after he was thrown from F-space. She lets him absorb what she says before adding. If he wanted us dead he would have killed us already. Sits back down and her expression turns into one of guilt and or sorrow. Just then Homelander and Madeline Stillwell come in. And as they do Noir holds up a sign that reads. Information. Didn't get any. Homelander says, then turns to Stillwell. Cause someone said I had to come to a meeting. Yes. Stillwell agrees. Our boss. And he's here. Edgar says, announcing his presence as he walks in the room. And for once Homelander can hear his heart beating out of its normal rhythm. Though not enough for the heart attack he's hoping for. Sit. All of you. Those of the 7 who were standing took their seats. Mr. Edgar Madeline tries to greet politely. But he's having none of that. Save it and shut up. Edgar says as he walks over to Homelander sits to press a button that closes and locks the doors. When they do he wastes no time. In my entire tenure at Vought I've seen mistakes made, carelessness, casualties and flat-out incompetence. But this group you have surpassed all of that. He tells them. Stillwell then tries to explain. I know the situation is bad but we're worky dash. I wasn't speaking to you Madeline. Edgar said without looking at her, but kept his eyes on the remaining members of the 7. Aside from Coleman, every news station and blogger is talking about one thing. How the 7, Earth's most mighty brutally beat a child to near death. It wasn't near dash dot. Homelander tried to interrupt. I'm not finished. Edgar said, aggressively, before going on. You all are a bunch of reckless, idiotic, incompetent buffoons who should be very grateful that none of you have previously been charged any crimes. He continues. Not only did you all fail, time and time again to defeat Shifter, you let him humiliate you and this company. And the culmination point is when he proved to the world that without a shadow of doubt he beat you. He didn't beat us. Homelander gritted. Like hell he didn't. The CEO argues. The entire fight was all of you failing to take Shifter down as he fought as a giant Michael Bay reference. And the only times you had the advantage is when you all ganged up on him and even then got back up to beat you to the ground. He reminds them. Edgar then turns to Deep. You were in the fight for less than 2 minutes. Getting knocked out twice, within 10 seconds of each confrontation. Looks towards Noir. You normally have a spotless record, even when you were part of Payback. But now you repeatedly make mistakes. Then scoffs. I mean your M.O is attacking from the shadows when you can't outmuscle your opponent, you completely ignored your own strengths and tries to take Shifter head-on. Did you forget or did you feel like being an idiot? Black Noir looks down towards the table ashamed. Edgar turns to Starlight. And you little Miss Sunshine. He sarcastically says. You just weren't strong enough, but my issue isn't entirely with your poor performance. It's how incredibly naive you still are. What are Dash? The newest member of the Seven tried to ask. He knew you. The CEO states loudly. He said, sorry Annie, that shows he knows you personally. And the fact that you haven't connected the dots in that dash dot. Stops to grabs his phone to show a still image from the Believe Expo where she briefly talks to Ben. Proves how ignorant, naive and gullible you are. Puts his phone away and puts a still image of Huey with the rest of the boys as they walk to the front desk. Not to mention one of the hooligans who infiltrated our records room and stole the case is a certain someone you've been seeing on a regular basis. Starlight just gapes in shock, trying to process this. Edgar turns to Queen Mave. Your performance was lackluster at your best moments. You should be the Seven's expert in hand-to-hand combat, yet within moments in most of the engagement that you were involved you were swatted away like a fly. And according to social media you were #dethroned. You've also been skipping out on your training. More frequently than usual and you've purchased several cases of alcohol each week. Mave says nothing. I don't care what problem you're trying to bury, or how you bury it, just so long as it doesn't affect your performance, which it has. So find a new coping mechanism or be done. He orders. Edgar goes to A-Train. I honestly wasn't surprised by you A-Train. He tells him. Really? The Seven speedster replied surprised. Yes. Thanks to the double dose of compound V you took you performed exactly how I expected. Edgar answers, revealing that he knows A-Train's been doping. Head first, stupid, reckless, clumsy with a few lucky shots before Shifter took you down cause you were too slow to realize that being faster doesn't make you smarter. Just never thought you were going to be outwitted by a child using movie references. He concludes. Finally it's Homelander's turn. And you. Dramatic pause. You may have won in the end, but not before being beaten like a rag doll, getting blasted in multiple directions, and your entire conversations were caught on camera. And his rhetoric won more people over to his cause, while yours did nothing but remind your fans of your brand. So he quoted Optimus Prime, big whoop. Homelander sarcastically replies. The big whoop isn't what he said, it's that he got people to believe that he believes in what he said, therefore getting more people to believe in him. Edgar clarifies as he replays parts of the fight on one of the big screens. The first image is of when Ben comes out of the fires as Optimus Prime. Stay down. Mave grits. Why the F won't you just stay down? She yells. Because I have fought in many battles and fought far tougher opponents, and I shall never yield to those who abuse their powers for their own personal gain. Ben replies with Optimus's voice. You really think you can stop all of us? Homelander asks with an amused smile as he gestures to his teammates. Even if we go down, there are others who will take our place. He adds. I harbor no illusions about defeating your army single-handedly. Ben gestures to Vought Tower. But perhaps I can nullify their objective. Puts on the armor to protect the lower part of his face as he looks back at the Seven. By removing its head. He finished with a more menacing tone. You actually plan to beat all of us right here? Homelander questions skeptically, then chuckles. I just didn't think it would be now. He adds. Fate rarely calls upon us at a moment of our choosing. Ben quotes, narrowing his optics eyes and clenching his fists. Look, it doesn't have to end this way. Starlight speaks. To her she sees that he is just trying to do what he thinks is right, though through very different means. We can talk, maybe even work together. She suggests. I'd sooner perish on my feet than live an eternity on my knees to serve a tyrant. Upgrade Optimus replies as he reached behind his back and pulls out a pair of cannons. Stan shuts the TV off. You see, he tells them. Even I was slightly moved by that, and more importantly I actually believe that he believes in that pile of SHT he just said. Edgar admits, then adds. Now imagine what total strangers think of him after hearing that. Pause as everyone processes this. But the piece de resistance. Edgar resumes. Is the obvious. You all essentially just committed child abuse. He tells them. I don't care if you knew, and neither does the public. 'Cause we should have known, and since we didn't it makes us look incompetent. If we knew, but still did this anyway we'll be liable for well a slew of things. He informs. We have time. Stillwell tries to reassure. We have until tomorrow she was trying to say they have until tomorrow night, past midnight, but is again interrupted by Edgar. Morning. He says. Noon actually. We captured him in the middle of the afternoon, we have until after midnight tomorrow to release him, but we're going to get ahead of that by releasing him around noon. That's when Homelander is gonna make the big announcement. He adds. What announcement? The 7 leader asks. One of two things. If you can get something useful on Shifter you'll be announcing the names of the infiltrators that made off with one of the most valuable item in this tower. Edgar answers. Has to be done without harming though, any previous injury to Mr. Tennyson can be seen as necessary since he was a danger blah 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 for the safety of the public and all that bullshit. And the other thing? A-Train asks. Should you fail to get any useful information from Shifter then you'll be announcing your retirement from superhero work and the 7 will be disbanded. He tells them. Numerous voices of shock are then exclaimed. A-Train, the F. Deep, what? Queen Mave, eyebrows raised. Black Noir, looks up at Edgar in surprise. You can't see his face, but you know it's like Stormtrooper. Starlight, huh? Homelander, bullshit. You can't do that. Madeline Stillwell, that's not necessary. Edgar by now has his heart rate in control and replies. I can and will. Edgar says firmly. I did it to payback I can do it just as easily to you all. He reminds them, particularly Homelander whose hero growing up was Soldier Boy. If you want to keep your jobs then get something useful out of Shifter or tomorrow Homelander will announce ... Clears his throat. That the 7 are so traumatized by the fact they nearly killed a child and that they are retiring. He says quoting what's gonna be on the VOT Instagram, news website, BEN10, and whatever media outlet they have. I won't announce that. Homelander denies. Then I will. Edgar says then goes to Stillwell. I almost forgot, once this blows over you're fired. What? Stillwell replies in shock. For what? She knew she'd have to resign, but she was gonna announce her withdrawal in the next quarterly review. You let the people who infiltrated our company infiltrate it like it was some half-baked version of Ocean's 11. Edgar answers. You never put cameras in the hallway with the records, you never properly disposed of the hidden stairwell, just sealed it without considering the fact there were hidden entrances I warned you of. And worst of all they made off with Wrench's case. Stillwell has a look of shock. I didn't think it was necessary since nobody knew about any of that. And what case, what's in it? She replies. Well they knew about and that case contained Wrench's greatest weapon. Edgar tells her in a miffed tone. Just how great of a weapon was it? Homelander arrogantly asks. Makes the nuclear reactor look like a AAA battery. Edgar answered then calmly adds. And now those boys have it, and if Shifter escapes he can open it for them and use it against us. He informs. Now if you excuse me I have a company to run. Walks out towards his office. The boys' hideout. The boys and 2 girls walk inside their hideout slowly, it's been about an hour since they left Vought Tower. No one has spoken a word. Immediately after getting inside, Butcher dials Rainer. "What do you want, Butcher?" the deputy director asks, though she likely has an idea. "Benji," Butcher sternly says. "Get them out. Now," he orders. "First off, you prick, you don't give me orders." Susan replies, then adds. "And technically we don't have to demand his release until the day after tomorrow. He'll be released in 36 hours, to whose custody is anyone's guess." She explains. "What the F is that supposed to mean? He'll be released dead in 36 hours. Butcher tells her as he paces around the area. Huey and Frenchie look at him curiously, mother's milk like he wants to rip his head off. While Kimiko takes Elena to the couch with an arm wrapped around her. While Monique, Janine and Wraith stay in another room, they were gonna go see them, but after seeing their state took the hint to give them space. Rainer sighs. Vought has a deal with the state where they can hold any criminal they capture for up to 7 days. But apparently the kid's lawyer got it cut to 36 hours since he's AF kid who had the SHT pounded out of him by Homelander after he was dropped from space. Ignoring the fact Ben had a lawyer, he never said anything about Butcher asked. And if those CNTS kill him? They can't. Rainer tries to reassure. If he comes out dead, charges can be pressed and Vought can't have that. Comes out hurt, same thing. Doesn't come out, same thing. You're just gonna have to wait, unless you can overturn the Supreme Court before that. She tells him. There's gotta be something you can do. You owe us. He nearly shouts. I don't owe any of you SHT. I gave you intel, I told you it could be F nothing. This is your SHT and you have to eat it. Now F off. Rainer tells him as she hangs up. Sighing, Butcher puts his phone away, but as he turns to discuss their next course of action, decks him in the jaw. Butcher stumbles back as he rubs his right cheek where punched him. This is your fault. Shouts in anger as he marches towards him. Nearby, Huey and Frenchie back away, knowing it's a bad idea to get in the middle of these two. Look, Butcher says, trying to calm him down, but it doesn't work as throws a left cross that hits its mark. My family are wanted by Vought. Shouts as he picks up Butcher. You dragged kids into this SHT. Throws him to a wall. And Ben now has his as in Vought prison cause you wanted more time to see if you could find your dead wife. Shouts as he picks him up and tries to punch him. Only Butcher gets his act together and ducks so hits the wall. The Brit then pushes mother's milk off of him and punches his face, forcing him to back up. Don't ever talk about my wife like that. He tells him, while pointing at his finger. What? That she's dead. Shouts in response. Cause she is, Butcher. She's dead and we're gonna be dead cause you're as us all up big time. We'll get him out. Butcher tries to reassure. Then what? Asks. We go on another once-in-a-lifetime trip for you to screw us again. He asks. Ben's F. My family is F. We're F. Stan Edgar knows our faces. And Rainer can't help us. He lists the points to Butcher. And you ain't even sorry for it, you British piece of SHT. I am sorry. Butcher admits. Sorry that we couldn't get anything to take down Homelander or Vought. No, you're not. Mother's milk says. You're probably happy about this SHT cause now you think you know Becca's alive. He tells him. Cause you think that if you can get her back that everything will be sunshine, rainbows and ponies. It won't. He says. You'll be the same miserable mother or whose wife walked out on him. And she's probably hoping you never find her. Butcher then charges at and two resume their fight. Butcher tries to punch him, but grabs both of his fists, so Butcher headbutts him. This forces back and when Butcher tries to go in for another strike it's caught and spins so Butcher hits a wall. Before the two can go at it again, Kimiko grabs both of them by the ears, not with enough force to rip them off, but enough to hurt and stop them. She then grabs their heads and bashes them together, again holding back enough force to not do too much damage. As the two rub their heads, they focus on Kimiko glaring daggers at them. The Asian then holds up a single finger, then mimes sipping her lips. She follows that up by holding up two fingers, then mimicking slicing someone's throat. After that she walks back to Elena. "What was that?" Huey whispers. "Shut the F up or I kill you." Frenchie guesses. As the two go to help Butcher and Mother's Milk back up, Butcher speaks up. "For the record, I didn't mean for it to turn like this. It's just with Becca," he drags, unsure of what to say. "It's always about Becca." Mother's Milk interrupts. "'Cause nothing else matters, not us, not Ben." He concludes. Huey tries to speak but is cut off. "You're right," Butcher admits, surprising everyone, especially Frenchie and who never heard him admit he was wrong. Even when he knew he was. "I'm sorry," he says with sincerity. "For you, your family, Frenchie, Huey and especially Len." The others raised an eyebrow at him getting Ben's name wrong. "You mean Ben?" Huey corrected. Butcher seemed to realize his mistake. "It's what I said," he denied, then puts on his signature trench coat. "Sit tight, I'll fix this," he says before leaving. As the three men just stand in silence, Wraith comes in. "Sorry, I know this a bad time," he announces his presence, gaining their attention. "But I'm doing a dark load, so if you have dirty clothes, can I have them?" he requests. Mother's Milk obliges and goes to the pile of dirted and bloody suits they wore for the infiltration. "Here you go," he says. "How's Janine and Monique?" he asks. "Well, apart from being terrified about not knowing what's going to happen, they're just peachy," he says before floating to the washing machine. When he gets there, he starts going through the pockets, and when he gets to Frenchie's jacket, he finds a small device with a small blinking red light. Floating back to where the boys were, he holds up the device. "Hey, look what I found in Frenchie's jacket," he announces, then stares at it. "Look, it goes blink blink blink. Does it do something else?" FSHT. Frenchie screams as he runs up to examine it. "It's AF tracker," he shouts. "Don't crush it," says. "Then they'll know we found it. We gotta get out of here," Huey states in a panic. "No SHT." agrees as he loads his handgun and grabs a few more ammo clips. Wraith tell the girls to pack quick, and get ready to leave. He orders before going to their murder board and tearing it up to prevent them from knowing what they know. Wraith floats to Kimiko and Elena, who are in another one of the rooms used for sleeping. Kimiko and Elena are sitting on the mattress with Kimiko's arms wrapped around Elena's. "We gotta go. Vought tracked us," he urged, and Kimiko nodded. Wraith floats to Mother's Milk's family. "I got good news and bad news," he tells them. "Which do you want to hear first?" Janine, who was reading about Namibia, responded first. "Bad news. Bad news, Vought tracked us down and are probably on their way here to capture or kill us," he says. Monique looks at him in shock. "What's the good news?" Wraith's expression changes to more cheery. "You get to get out of here, just like you wanted." He then floats back to the boys who are scrambling. "Got everything?" asks, as he burns whatever evidence he can in an oil drum they use for trash. "Yup," Frenchie says as he grabs the knockout gas recipe. "Does it matter?" Huey states as he zips a small duffel with some food in it. Just then hard bangs on the door are heard. Immediately the boys and girls are pause what they're doing and proceed to leave through a manhole leading to the sewers. But Wraith stays. "Wraith?" Janine asks, as she sits down and looks over at her ghost friend. The rest soon look at Wraith, who's staring at the door as the, presumably, bought soldier try to bust in. Thankfully they had the sense to jam it each time they come in for this exact reason. Go. I'll buy you some time. Wraith says. And reluctantly they leave him. After they do though, Wraith places a carpet and a chair over the cover to hide the exit for now. BLAM. The sound the door being broken open is heard and Wraith goes invisible. But not before taking a phone they left and getting it ready to have some fun. As the VOT-branded SWAT soldiers pour in with rifles ready they look around and do a quick intake. One sees the fire and he says. They knew we were coming. Another notices items left haphazardly. Looks like they left in hurry, probably just missed them. A woman says. Definitely did. Another adds. Looks like someone was doing laundry. Music is then suddenly heard. Boys and girls of every age. Wouldn't you like to see something strange? They all look around as the music is echoing from above them. Come with us and you will see. This, our town of Halloween. Are they messing with us? One asks. This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Pumpkins scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween, everybody make a scene. Trick or treat, till the neighbor's gonna die of fright. It's not even Halloween yet. It's our town, everybody scream. In this town of Halloween. I haven't watched that movie in a long time. I am the one hiding under your bed. Wraith invisibly grabs someone's leg and pulls, forcing them down. Teeth ground sharp and eyes glowing red. They all tensely turn their guns around to find whoever is here or any traps left behind. But see no one and no traps. I am the one hiding under your stairs. Wraith invisibly shoves another against the wall. Fingers like snakes, and spiders in my hair. Wraith creepily crawls his hands on one's back, making them turn around to also see nothing. One looks up and fires once at the phone taped in a part of the room so the sound can echo. Who are you? The leader demands to know. I am the, who when you go who's there? Wraith eerily echoes into the room before flying through several of them while adding. I am the wind blowing through your hair. I am vengeance. Wraith exclaims, as knocks one away. I am darkness. Wraith grabs and throws one into a wall. I am. A flashbang is thrown in his direction and goes off. Aw! Wraith exclaims in brief pain as his body burns, like that of a pasty kid who's been at the beach for several hours with no sunscreen. Use the flashbangs. Someone shouted. But before they could Wraith was already diving underground into the safety of the sewers. Vought Tower. Edgar was on his way towards their captive when he got a call from his team. You better have good news. He says. Did you capture them? Pause. Of course you didn't. What's the excuse this time? He asks, anticipating some lame explanation. However, as the commander explains that the freak ghost thing messing with them, he stopped and smirked. Interesting. So that's where he is. Pause as he considers his next course of action. You lucked out today. Hangs up. Ashley then walks up to him holding a folder. Sir, I have the contract offer you requested, but there seems to be a few complications. She tells the CEO nervously. Oh, like what? Edgar asks, he can't have something else go wrong now. Firstly legal, Ashley carefully enunciates. Needs to know why such a big offer. Chuckles nervously. Even Homelander didn't have a contract this generous. Oh. I guess it all comes down to money, right? Edgar jokes, and Ashley nervously smiles too. Well, tell legal it won't affect our charts because if this deal is accepted then we get to release a lot of expensive dead weight. Which compared to this offer is nickels to the dollar. He tells her. Nickels? Ashley replies confused, since the phrase is pennies on the dollar. What my father called somewhat expensive long-term investments. Chuckles at a memory. He made my mother so mad when he bought that stock, then a month later we moved into an actual house that was nicer than all white people's. Smile then turns back to his standard business face. Is that all? No. Ashley answers. They also need to know when you want it to expire. Both the offer and the contract should they accept. She clarifies. Oh well, 10 years for the renewal should they accept, and for how long they have to accept any time. Edgar answers as Ashley writes that down. Sir. She questions. Did I stutter? Edgar asked, getting annoyed. But as Ashley stutters for a response he asks. Is that all? One last thing. The name of the person who we're contracting. She requests. BEN10 is his name. He answers even while she writes that down. Ashley then pauses when she remembers what she got from the courtroom report she handed Stillwell. The shifter. She exclaims and turns to catch up to Edgar, who was walked several paces away. Indeed. Edgar tells her, before taking the folder. And even if he doesn't accept Homelander, and the rest of his merry band of mistakes will be out by tomorrow anyway. So worst case scenario, we save some money we'll need for a PR campaign. Opens the folder, reads it and hands it back. So just get those little details sorted quickly and we won't have a problem. Continues to walk as Ashley stops in her tracks, visibly shocked. With Ben. Ben was just sitting on his mattress, bored out of his mind, when the door opened. Through it came an African-American man with gray hair, glasses, and wearing a suit. If you're one of the dudes in charge, I'd like to launch a complaint. Ben tells him. My apologies that your stay with us has been disappointing. The man says. But we'll get to that in a moment. First introductions are in order. He adds cordially. I am Stan Edgar, CEO of VOT, and you are? BEN10. Ben replies. Course you probably knew that. I did. Edgar replied as he studied Ben. After a few moments Ben spoke. You gonna stare at me like that all day? 'Cause I might start charging. He tell him. My apologies, I'm just so impressed. Edgar tells him with an excited smile. Wait, what? Was Ben's, confused, response. I am. Edgar tells him. I mean, you appear out of nowhere and continuously hinder a multitude of our painstakingly planned and calculated operations simply by going with your natural instinct. Not to mention you put that overgrown man-child in his place along with other VOT heroes. He adds with an upbeat tone. You sound kinda happy about that. Ben points out. Which is weird because normally the boss is at least annoyed when his plans get ruined. A true leader doesn't let defeat get to them for too long, otherwise they'll lose the next battle. Edgar explains and Ben can feel a speech or metaphor coming on. A true leader in the face of defeat figures out what they did wrong, reorganizes his forces and changes things before trying again. Dramatic pause as Edgar turns to Ben. Otherwise his army is stuck in the mud, like Haig and British at the Somme in 1916. He finishes. Is there gonna be a quiz, 'cause I got AC in history and that's only 'cause I copied off the kid next to me? Ben tells him. Edgar pushes up his glasses before saying. Perhaps I should be more direct. I'd like to propose an offer. Okay. Ben says in a bored tone as he goes to lie down. Edgar is visibly surprised by this as he replies. I figured you reject what I had to say. Yeah, 'cause I'm so busy. Ben sarcastically stated, while gesturing towards his cell. Plus not like I can kick you out yet. He adds. Edgar smirks at the kid's attitude. I'd like to offer you a position at VOT. For what, your next lame toy advertisement? Ben questioned in a bored tone. For Homelander's position on the 7. He clarifies. Say what now? Ben says, visibly surprised by that offer. You heard me. Edgar tells him. But Ben still looks at him in surprise. I see you're in shock, so I'll just lay out the details. Clears his throat. You'll get an enormous salary, with bonuses depending on how well you perform. Free reign on the 7, if you wish to call it that, and decide who joins it. As well as primary decision-making for any and all products relating to you and your team. He explains. What's the catch? Ben asks, knowing there always is. Only that you work for VOT and discontinue your campaign against VOT. Edgar tells him. Imagine all the fans you already have, amplify that with fans of VOT. You'll be loved by billions, make likely as much money with products, and never want for anything because you'll either have it or get it. And all you have to do is keep doing what you've done, just for VOT. He tries to convince him. Ben thinks this over. The would be awesome. He thinks while imagining living in a huge cliché mansion, with all the candy, video games and movies he wants. He also imagines walking into a movie premiere and hearing screams and shouts of his names while people take his picture. Then picture stores filled with his own merchandise, complete with his face on them. As he thinks this over he glances back at his left wrist, where the metal band was blocking the omnitrix. His thoughts then drift back to Grandpa Max and Gwen and the reason why he had the omnitrix in the first place. No. Ben simply says. Edgar isn't disappointed with this and instead seems impressed with his answer. Interesting. You took a few seconds, but still refused an offer that not even Homelander would get. Shows a strong will. Look, I don't care who you are, before I came to this universe I was beating all kinds criminals, aliens, robots, monsters, and mutants. And now I can add all your lame soups to that pile. Ben informs him. Have any of your lame soups ever fought an actual mad scientist, or robots, or mutated animals? He rhetorically asks. Fortunately those have not had the pleasure of arriving to our planet. Unfortunately for us it requires us to stage such things for movies. Edgar replies. Exactly. Ben says, his point proven. Being a hero isn't about any of that crud, it's about doing the right thing. Which means you can take that offer and flush it down the toilet. Very well. Edgar says, slightly disappointed. The offer doesn't expire by the way, so if you change your mind the conditions will still be the same. Just save the paper and get out before I bust out. Ben dismisses, and Edgar leaves. Meanwhile in another super-powered prison. CIA black site. The cell door opens and Raynor walks in with another person in protective body gear carrying a tray of food, lunchtime. She announces. Kevin turns away from his TV and looks at the tray, meat, potatoes and a glass of milk. That's it? He asks, feeling annoyed with this palate. His portions on that alien gladiator ship Sea Grudge match were bigger. This isn't the Hilton. Human rights say you get food, but you barely count as human. Raynor tells him, then shrugs her shoulders as he continues to brood. Or you can just starve. Kevin grit his teeth in anger, then turns to the newcomer. Who's this guy? He asks, gesturing with one of his thumbs. Raynor then plainly replies. He's your feeder. The guy approached, but paused and looked at Raynor. He won't gonna bite, even if he tries the gas will knock him out first. She tells him, as gas stops pouring inside his cell for a minute to allow the worker to drop off the food. The 3 walls of extra-strength reinforced glass then open entrances big enough for a person to walk through. The guy walks through them, sets the tray down near him, just passing the line deemed the danger zone. Kevin smirks, not able to resist. He speeds to him and opens his mouth, which protruded Ripjaw's razor-sharp teeth. The man screamed and fell on his ass, before quickly scrambling backwards and out the cell and far away as possible as Kevin devoured the meal. Raynor's eyes widened, as she hasn't seen him do that against the 7 or Shifter. What else could he do? She looked at Kevin, whose mouth returned to normal. Got ketchup? Raynor just looked at him as the feeder walked, almost ran, out of the room and said. You're a real pain in the ass, you know that? What's your problem? Kevin asks. Raynor just rolls her eyes and replies. I spend my day trying to keep this country safe, while dealing with assholes who spend all day staring at my chest. She lists off. Kevin scratches his head as he asks. Why are they staring? Raina raises an eyebrow, then something occurred to her. The shifter was just a kid, and these two knew each other. Could it? She thought for a second. She unbuttoned the top buttons on her shirt, showing the top of her cleavage. She stood in front of Kevin. Anything? What's supposed to happen? The mutated kid asks. Holy SHT, Rainer blinked before buttoning up her shirt. You're just a 10-year-old too. I'm not 10. Kevin says. I'm 11. He clarified. Rainer just rubs her face and groans. Of course. She sighs before checking her watch. Time for her to go. Well, good night, so you tomorrow for our next chat. She tells him before walking away. You can't keep me here. Kevin shouts. I'll get out of here soon. Just outside his cell. Rainer meets with her boss, who asks. Anything? Seeing as how she's been trying to get information out of him for days. Nothing. She tells him as they walk down together. Either he's not telling us SHT or he doesn't know SHT. And honestly, I can't tell which it is. Only thing I got was that he's an 11-year-old kid. Jesus Christ, and I was worried about my kids hitting PBRTY. The CIA director replied. See ya tomorrow. He said as they parted ways. As Raina gathered her things, she received a text from her husband. Andrew, working late again? If so, just so you know, I made your favorite. Susan, not tonight. I'm coming home now. She messages him back and leaves. Scene cut. Susan parked her car in her driveway and made her way in the house. Pressing the code to get inside without sounding the alarm, she walked in and headed towards the dining room. I'm home. Hope you saved some for me. She says as she walks, but freezes the moment she sees the table. Her husband is sitting in his usual spot just across from her son, who was sitting next to his sister, and across her was an empty seat for Susan. But at the head of the table sat William Butcher, sitting back with an empty plate in front, as the other four still had food. Her family had frightened expressions as Butcher said. They waited for ya, but I couldn't resist. He then gestures to the seat directly across from him. Have a seat, join us. You must be stressed. He says. Only if they can leave. Susan tells him. They ain't leaving. Butcher replies, then turns to her husband Andrew. Tell her why, Andy. Andrew stutters to say. He put pressure bombs on our chairs. We didn't know until we sat down. He informs. Any of them get up, kablooey. So either sit down or I press this. Butcher clarifies as he holds up the detonator. Rainer complies. Butcher notices the terrified looks and sniffling. Oh, cheer up kiddies, it'll be over in a few hours. He turns back to Susan. So long as mommy just gives me a few things. I can't get him out even if I wanted to. Susan says, thinking she already knows what he wants. We'll get to that. Butcher says. What's on Kraken Island? He asks, remembering that's where Edgar told him Becca was. A surveillance unit looking out for Chinese and Korean ships or submarines or whatever. Why the F do you want to know that? Susan answers, slightly confused by that request. F. Butcher groans, knowing now that Edgar lied to him. Still, why mention specifically that? He thought. What's on there? Susan asks. Where's Kevin? Butcher ignores and continues. Who? Raina replies, feigning confusion. Chimera. Butcher plays along. Kevin Levin, the little CNT that took down a bunch of VOT CNTs that Benji needed to do a team-up in. Not my department. Susan tells him. Well, I think it is. Butcher tells her and pulls out blown-up pictures of her car dashboard. Specifically the total miles she traveled. Unless you've been driving an extra 100 miles for fun, then you're gonna need a new car soon. Pause. So talk or boom. With the boys and girls. Told you I'd find a way out. Elena says as she leads them outside of the sewer near a construction site. Told you guys I'd find a way out. She says. Yeah, after the last 5 wrong turns. Huey says, as he sniffs himself and makes a face of disgust. Let's find a place to lay low and clean up. Says as he passes out hand sanitizer and wet wipes. Especially to his wife and child, but sees Janine still inside. Baby, come on out. Waiting for Wraith. She tells him. And here I am. Wraith says as he floats in sight. Thanks for the markers, though we better move before they can track us. He suggests. Might I recommend an Airbnb in Manhattan? They can track that. Frenchie tells him. Oh. Wraith sighs, as he steps out of the shadows as the sun finishes setting. Well, that's disappointing. Let's just find a motel or something. Criminals stay there all the time. Janine suggests. Having seen multiple crime shows. And with that they move to find a motel to hunker down for the night. And hopefully by morning they'll figure something out. With Ben. Ben was sitting in his cell when the door opened up and in came Starlight and Queen Mave. Since it was dangerous to leave Ben by himself, and any footage of his captivity may likely fall into the wrong hands, Homelander ordered that 2 members at a time should watch him. Mave walked over to one of the walls and leaned on it stoically, not making eye contact. Annie walked towards the cell with a sandwich and a water bottle. I thought you might be hungry. Finally. Ben cheered as he took the sandwich and began eating. You guys are definitely getting a 0 star. He says as he drinks his water. I mean, the service here stinks. So, Annie drags, clearing her throat. Can we talk? She asks, and Ben knows it's going to be about Huey. 7 Conference room. After Homelander dispatched Queen Mave and Starlight to look after and interrogate Shifter, the other 4 remaining members sat around and thought of their next move. So far nothing has come to mind. Even their most cunning soup, Black Noir, hasn't made a suggestion. He didn't know. Homelander said suddenly. The others look at him curiously. What? Deep asks. Homelander continues. He didn't know Translucent was dead. He thought he was locked up. He points out. A-Train looks at him skeptically. How do you know he wasn't just messing with us? He questions. Homelander gets up as he wags his finger. No, it was in his voice. He really thinks Translucent is alive. Stops to look at the view of the city. So what does that mean? The speedster asks. Noir then holds up a sheet-up paper reading muscle. Homelander nods and says. Noir's right, it means the kid was just the muscle. There's a brain behind all this we haven't seen yet. Pauses as he thinks back to when those guys shot that has during the Chimera incident. Or maybe we have. Walking to the phone at the desk he calls Stillwell. Madeline, I think I have something. Back with Ben. Sorry, doesn't ring a bell. Ben replies to Starlight. Look, I know you're lying. Starlight tells him. He came here with a bunch of other guys to steal something, that's why you attacked us, to be a distraction. She continues, figuring out the plan they had. The original at least. That does sound like an okayish plan, but only a bunch of idiot dweebs would fall for it. Ben admits. But I guess you guys would fall for it, if that was the plan. He adds, taking a shot at them. The only way they could have known that we weren't gonna be at the tower 'cause you attacked us was if you guys planned it. Starlight points out. According to any lawyer show I've seen, that is what is called circumstantial evidence. Ben replies. They could have just gotten lucky. No one's that lucky. Annie tells him. Don't people win like $1 zillion on the lottery? Pretty sure you need luck for that, 'cause I doubt all those winners knew the exact winning numbers. Ben suggests. Or a lot of guesses. Or they knew the numbers before they were called. Annie replies. I go back to my lawyer's show comment. Ben reminds her. Then sees Mave averting her eyes from him. Do I have something on my face or something? He asks. No response. Back to Huey. Starlight tries to continue. Hello. Ben calls out to Mave, who adjusts her vision towards one of the walls. Okay, I get I kicked your ass, but this is weird. Just shut up, okay? Mave tells him in an annoyed tone, finally looking at him. She speaks. Ben says with fake astonishment. Where are they? Starlight asks, one word at a time. I don't know. Ben replies in the same manner. Can we talk about something else, please? Annie groans. Don't bother. He's not gonna talk. Mave concludes. If anything, you're just giving him ammo. Leans her back against the wall. I actually wanna talk. Just not about that. Ben admitted. I'm having a major crisis. More major than this? Annie asks, gesturing to Ben's imprisonment. Ben shrugged, as he motioned his hand in a so-so gesture. I've been captured like twice, both times on spaceships, and I broke out both times. He dismisses. One crashed near Mount Rushmore and blew up. He recalled. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out my theme song, but I'm torn between something sci-fi or rock and roll. Ben continues with his original thought. Which should I go with? Wait, what? Go back. Annie requests. It's not that complicated. Ben tells her. Which one do I choose? Know about the spaceships and Mount Rushmore. Starlight clarified. We definitely would have seen that. Ben sighs, as if tired. 'Cause it was in another dimension. Shakes his head. Do I need to start snaps his finger a podcast? Do I need to start one, 'cause I said 1,000,000 times I'm from another dimension? Mave chuckles in amusement. Yeah, right. She dismisses. I'm telling the truth, Your Majesty. Ben tells her. I mean, tell me, where on earth can I find a watch that turns me into a bunch of super cool alien dudes? Before the conversation could continue, the door opened and Homelander came in. Thank you, ladies, I got it from here. It's no problem, I can stay longer. Starlight tries to argue. No. Homelander drags on as he glared daggers at Ben, who picks his left ear with his pinky finger. This is just gonna be between us, he says, and the girls take their leave. Just outside. Annie sighed as the door was closed on her way out. Upset your boyfriend was just using you. Well, get used it, 'cause there's plenty more like him. Mave bluntly tells her. What is with you? Starlight asks, baffled by her. First you hardly talked to Ben and now you want to talk about Huey. Hey, I'm just trying to be honest. Mave defends leisurely. You know, I read your autobiography so many times that I wore it out. I had to buy a second one and I wanted to live my life exactly like yours. Starlight tells her. Because you didn't just break all the bones in your right arm stopping that school bus from falling off of a bridge, but you also went to every kid's physical therapy afterwards. Just to show the world that they were heroes, too. You really stood for something. She continues to reminisce fondly. But now, Annie resumes. I'm pretty sure that was just written by the marketing guys. As Annie is about to walk away, Mave speaks. What are you gonna do when you see your boy toy? She asks, and as Starlight doesn't reply, she adds. 'Cause no way he didn't use something from you, even if he did like you. And Annie walks away to clear her head. With Ben. Great, you're back. Here we go again. Ben groans with a sigh, before moving back and getting comfortable. What do you mean? Homelander asks. You're here to make me an offer of money and a spot in the 7, right? Ben guess. Homelander nods, then gestures for the remote. Before that, let's watch some TV, something on the news you might find interesting. He tells Ben. But this is my favorite show. Ben says while gesturing to the black screen. I know it's a rerun, but it's better than what you got. You're gonna love it, trust me. Homelander tried to assure, while motioning his fingers to bring the remote. Whatever. Ben complies, tossing the remote to him earlier. Just don't put on one of your movies, that's annoying and pathetic, even if they were good. Homelander just fake smiles, before gritting his teeth, resisting the urge to laser Ben at his most vulnerable. He then turns on the TV and puts on BEN10. Vought News Network. Cameron Coleman smiles into the camera and says, "Hello everyone and welcome to 7 on 7, the most honest and unbiased news source there is." He sighs before going on. To say that the last few hours have been eventful would be an understatement. Just to recap, first Homelander takes the stage to inform us of the possible loss of his teammate and beloved hero Translucent. Then that touching moment was interrupted by the Shifter in his latest action against Vought and our nation's heroes. He attacked the 7, resulting in a huge fight that caused damage to the city. To no one's surprise, Homelander came out on top, but this led to the biggest surprise since the Shifter's first appearance. That the Shifter is a literal child. The screen showed a picture of Ben after the fight when he had become human again. None were more shocked than the 7. Picture of the 7's shock was on screen. But being the heroes they are, they quickly went into action. Footage shows Starlight moving through the hordes of reporters and check on Ben before picking him up and carrying him towards a Vought brand ambulance. Her teammates even cleared a path. The Shifter, or Tennyson as his name was revealed in his fight with the Chimera a week ago, was then brought to Vought Tower, where he received top-level medical treatment. Now I know there's a lot of questions. But we're about to get some answers. Thanks to our special guest, Senior Vice President of Hero Management at Vought, Madeline Stillwell. The camera panned out to see Stillwell sitting next to him. Thanks for having me, Cameron. She says, with a bright smile. Pleasure's all mine. Coleman replies. Madeline then begins talking. I believe the best way to address this situation is to tackle each of the biggest questions. Coleman nods and replies. Sounds like a plan. The first thing I'd like to address is the health of young Mr. Tennyson. I want to assure to everyone that he is safe and receiving the best medical care we have to offer. She tries to reassure the audience, especially those vocal about child abuse and such. Coleman then adds. No surprise there. What do you think of the liberal left's growing demands that he be released? Stillwell takes a moment to reply. Well, Cameron, the thing to remember is child or not. He has committed several crimes including trespassing, destruction of property, assault, obstruction of justice and others. And while this is a truly unique situation, we are following the law by detaining him until this can be sorted out. And given the power he has, there's nowhere else that could hold him. She answers. Cameron nods approvingly before saying. I'd also like to point out that unlike the CIA, who are holding Chimera, Vought is being fully transparent with the situation. Finally, what do you say about this one man, or should I say, one child and his war on Vought and its heroes? That is something we've been trying to understand since the beginning actually. And it baffled all of our minds, from top to bottom. Stillwell tells him. But now, we have an answer. She takes out a framed picture of the 7, tell me, what do you see when you look at this? She asks. Coleman looks at it for a few seconds before listing off. Protection. Justice. Heroes. Stillwell nods and replies. Exactly. And no one sees that more than children. Which raises the question, why would a child who should be inspired by these heroes, think of them as villains? The reason? They've been lied to. She puts the picture away. Can you play the footage? She requests. Of course, Cameron agrees and turns to the camera. The following footage shows the end of Chimera's rampage. The video played showing the aftermath of Diamond Head and Groundhog's double uppercut on Chimera. Then the black van shows up and the masked men fire the gas grenades that eventually knocks him out. The video pauses and the frame zooms in on them. Stillwell then speaks. If you zoom in, you can see the hourglass symbol on their masks, the same that's present on all of the shifters' forms. So these people weren't CIA? Coleman asks for clarification, though likely already knowing the answer. Stillwell shakes her head. No, they weren't, far from it. These men had zinc sewn into their masks to prevent Homelander from discovering their identities. But thanks to the hard-working minds at Vought, masks can't protect them now. A new image shows the boys with Kimiko and Elena, who has her face concealed with her hood, at Vought Tower. The image is a still frame from when they infiltrated the tower. She proceeds to name all the boys. These are William Butcher, Marvin T. Milk, Serge, Hugh Campbell. She says, putting up photos, mugshots of them. These are the true villains of this story. Not only for scheming against our nation's heroes, but for the manipulation of a confused child and brainwashing him to fight their battles for them. Coleman just shakes his head in disapproval. Horrible, just horrible. He says, then looks back to the image of the boys with Kimiko and Elena and asks. But who are these two? One looks like another child, but who is that woman? He asks. Well, this where it gets darker. Stillwell admits. Then an image of the insignia of Shining Light Liberation Army terrorist group appears. There are no records of who that woman is, but we know for sure that she at least was, maybe even still is, part of the Shining Light Liberation Army. A terrorist group? Cameron asks for confirmation. Yes, that's right. Stillwell answers with a nod. What is being done to handle this situation? Coleman wonders. Well, for security reasons I can't go into much detail, mainly because I'm not a part of that specific effort. She begins. But what I can tell you now is our heroes are working on a plan to track down these fugitives, but it seems Mr. Tennyson was central to their plan, and with him rescued, she trails off. Their plans are ruined. Coleman guesses. Stillwell nods. It would seem so, yes. Cameron just smiles and begins concluding. Well, thank you so much for this enlightening interview. Turns to the camera. And thank you for listening to the actual news. With Ben. The TV shuts off and Homelander looks at Ben. Millions of people are now seeing that. He points out. That's those 'cause millions of people are also dweebs. Ben shoots back. Then yawns. Is that supposed to mean anything anyway? Before Homelander could respond, Ben continues. 'Cause dude, you guys have been calling me a criminal for like weeks now. This feels like a step down on your part, making me a victim. What's next? You adopt me. Ben teases. Be like the son you never had. He mocks with a chuckle. I'd pity someone with your DNA. It's more on your little buddies. Homelander points out. We and everyone else know who they are now. Who you are. Can't hide anymore. He reminds. Ben just looks at him. Let me guess, if I say yes to your demands you won't hurt them. He guesses. Not demands. Homelander tries to reason. Just call it a deal. Ben takes a moment to think. Well, you do know these deals work better with leverage, and you don't have that. Ben points out. You know you guys have terrible negotiating skills. He adds as Homelander walks out. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 11. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author AU Fan62 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.